right. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Everything Offense with AJ and Matt. My name is Matt Lasker. AJ, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, buddy.
Awesome.
Looking forward
Awesome.
to this.
Absolutely. Every week, it's always a good time getting on here, talking ball and talking about actually the week that's gone by. That's kind of been my favorite part of these, to be honest. How's the week been for you, man?
It's been great, and a lot of football has been talked about lately, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just so funny to watch these prognosticators kind of change and flip from week to week. And I think that could be our icebreaker this week. AJ is hilarious things that we've seen recently, where hilariously frustrating. I'll say it like that, because watching these shows,
Well, I
man,
can't do it anymore. They've
drive you
actually turned me off so much. I turned it off. I don't watch ESPN. I don't watch. I don't go through the feeds. I don't watch. The only thing I like to watch is NFL Sunday, because Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy have all been there, and they're all Super Bowl guys. So there I can respect their opinions because they've all been there. But when you got all these guys that haven't even played a football down, and let alone played a football down in college, talking about making us these stories up and getting paid millions of dollars, it's nonsense. And the more nonsense stuff they seem like they say, the more people talk, the more money they get. It's so backwards.
And I think that's the problem, is that we value as a society, and we don't need to get into that, our societal issues, but we value the amount of clicks, right? The amount of views, not like, is this information correct or real, or, is it based in reality at all? Or can I hurt somebody by saying these words? Like, that's what gets me about the whole thing, is that you can actually damage people's ability to make money. You can damage people's perception in the media, or in, even locally. It gets to these people. Like, there's 2 instances that I saw in the last week alone where I was just like, oh my gosh, Draymond Green, he's a lightning rod for everybody. And he's one of those guys that if he wasn't on my team, I probably would hate him. We all have guys like that, like Richard Sherman, and guys who just get under your skin. But his whole attack on the media, new media, old media, there's some validity to that. I don't know how more athletes don't punch some of these guys for the shit they say. Honestly, like, I'm surprised there's not more fights.
That's why I absolutely love listening to Nick Saban and how mad he gets at the media. And I'm surprised he doesn't get out and deck guys. I'm surprised he even walks up to the podium sometimes, because they literally asked him, I think it was last year when I was watching, and made it all around. They're asking him, oh, so what quarter you think you're going to put your second backup? When's your second backup going to get reps, and how many reps? Like, when are you going to pull him in the game? Because they're paying. It was that cupcake week, the SEC, when they get that cupcake week, where they play those teams, and they make them a lot of money and really help those teams out. And he's like, I have a game to win. The quarterback that's in there is gonna do best. Like, they ask us stupid questions, and I'm surprised he even answers them sometimes, and that's why I love listening to him and Bill Belichick. Yes, oh my gosh, he is just. I mean, I absolutely love it. All you're worried about is winning the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I think people don't really understand how hard it is to win and execute in football,
they
especially
don't.
at highest levels. But like, it is not a math problem where you're like, if there's a fixed variable here and a fixed variable here, and if this variable is one and the other, and we put them together, we know exactly what the outcome should be. That is not football. Football is so emotional. There's so many other things at play: the weather, the quarterback, how their night was last night. Did they get in a fight with their girlfriend? Right? Are they struggling in school? Like, there are so many things that go on even outside the football field in practice. These rival games, when one team is 1-10 and the other team is 10-1, that shit goes out the window, because there's way more to football than X's and O's.
So, because the teams are so evenly matched in the NFL.
Oh man, position for position, there's not that much separating one team's cornerbacks from the other team's corners, one receiver core from the other receiver core, right? Like, it is about execution and keeping your team focused.
Yes, it's way, and I think it has a lot. Obviously, it's been proven over the last years. It comes down to a lot of coaching, because how is the Vikings offensive line? How is your 49ers offensive line so much better than mine? When we're probably paying the same amount for those dudes, but yet I mean, those Niners, I love watching the Niners because they literally seem like they just enjoy pounding on people. That's why I love watching Bama for years because it's like they literally, even the wide receivers are blocking on run plays all the time. Like they literally enjoy just beating up on people the whole entire time. It's so much fun to watch and it's so physical. And if you don't like, you can, and that's another thing I tell people too. Like, you can have, if you don't play with a chip on your shoulder, it doesn't matter what I call. If you don't want to go up there and absolutely destroy and beat up on somebody, then you're gonna get beat up if you don't have that mentality.
For
And
sure.
especially the lower levels kids like that, when you get into like, the ninth grade, the 10th grade, the 12th grade teams, that can separate a win and a loss easily. Just have it playing with a chip on your shoulder. If I can have one player like that, at least one on my ninth grade team or back when I was, with the varsity team, that was great. Like I love those guys
Yeah,
because they
spreads.
had a little bit of a hole in them, and it can rub off on at least a couple other dudes to maybe get them to play up a little bit better. Some of the kids aren't going to buy you no matter what, but
Yeah.
you those kind of dudes having them around will definitely help your team. I think if you know
Oh,
how to use them.
spreads. Yeah, it's contagious. Like if you do it the right way, obviously, like you said, coaching matters, but it's all about getting the kids to buy in and the right kids to buy into whatever it is that you preach. And once you got a couple of leaders buying into what you do and mimicking that at practice, then your job is going to be a million times easier. So definitely would identify a few guys that kind of fit that mold of the personality you want your team to take. Um, and then coach them into that leadership role because it like you said, it'll get you a couple more wins, and in the right situation, if the team is by the end of the season leading the charge
Yep.
with your whatever the core values that you're trying to preach, then it's over. Like you got
Yep.
it, you got a
Absolutely.
special season.
I just want to end on this. Like, for as far as the media goes, they need to just put this in the context that there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. There isn't a bad quarterback in the NFL, or else they wouldn't be there. Plain and
Right,
simple.
and
You
it's
know,
coaching.
you don't bench Dak Prescott because he's had a bad game. He's more than that. You know, you don't bench Kirk Cousins because, oh, now all of a sudden now we want to draft somebody else. He's too competitive and too smart to want that. Nobody's trying to tank or lose a game, and the all 32 quarterbacks in the NFL are elite guys, or else they wouldn't be there. That's just the way the business goes. So I just want to end
100%.
on that.
Yep, 100%. And in the things that happen with the great guys, they're in a good situation and have great coaching, and the guys that are kind of thrown into the wilderness with a new coach and a new organization that are in the middle of rebuilding, there's no secret
No.
why why these rookie quarterbacks tend to not have success if they're not on a solid program.
Yeah.
So I totally agree, man. All right, cool.
I'm
So
ready
let's
to
get into
jump
it.
in to
Yeah,
your
let's
stuff.
get into it. I'm gonna kick things off with some passing content. We went pretty deep last week with a couple concepts and formations, especially around the run. And AJ showed us his awesome. And if you haven't watched this, go back and watch it. AJ has. I can't remember if you had a certain play for the call for the play, but essentially you had 4+ running plays that you could call at the line of scrimmage just by defensive alignment. You want to just give a quick synopsis of that before we move on to my stuff?
Yep. So we base our if and then on the where the first offender's lined up on the line of scrimmage outside the center, and then where number two is outside the center. So basically, our quarterback can get up there, and if he knows where those two guys are, and can get us into either midline inside veer or outside veer, we're going to have a successful play because those plays are designed to read certain offenders based on where they're lined up at, and by them where they line up too, it also makes it easier to down block and to be able to double team at a point of attack. So that's what our base rule is for running games.
I
So
love that. I love it. And so that is a perfect segue into what I'm going to talk about because in gun spread option, pre-snap keys, you're looking at the defensive line, and you can literally get your team, and even better, let me say it in a better way, you can empower your quarterback to get your team into the right play based on what they're seeing.
yep,
And there's very strict variables to that. There's very strict things that they're looking at. So, if you teach them the right way, they can absolutely own that and play fast and go do it, which I love. And that is very similar to the philosophy that we have in the air raid And what today I'm going to talk to you about is the youth passing system, which is air raid based. Coaches have been asking me for years to kind of put together a quick, easy to install offense that they can plug into their run game. And as you know, AJ, we've been talking, you've always run a version of gun spread in some way, shape, or form. I've always wanted to, since I've become like head coach and dove into this air raid rabbit hole, I've been more passing based. But I do believe, even though this might piss off some air raid purists, I do believe the air raid concepts can be plugged into any offense, regardless of style, regardless of type of formations. There's only a few things that I need as a play caller for you to do. Number one, I need you to just give me 3 receivers on one side of the field. And we can get there a lot of different ways, right? We can use H-backs, we can use sniffers, we can use fullbacks, we can use tailbacks, we can use tight ends. It doesn't matter. If you give me 3 receivers on one side of the field, I'm going to attack grass and show you how to score points. And then number 2, we just want to make sure you can run your core run plays out of those same formations. Okay. So you can obviously look multiple. Okay. And so with this youth passing system, I'm going to get into the core 3 plays today. Fade out, stick, and corner, as you can see. All verts, I'll do a separate video on that because it's just so much fun and we can get into it. And if you're going to run the spread version of the youth passing system with formations, we'll do our 2x2, our 2-back, 3x1. Now, I'm a huge formation guy, and so is AJ. So we can make that list of formations 1,000. It doesn't matter to me. It's just as long as we keep our core. What you see over here is 7 concepts, right? Fade out, stick, corner, 4 verts, and then our screens over here. And that's the whole thing. And you can see if you do go ahead and watch this series that I'm going to put out in a little bit, you'll get all the practice plans and a lot of the stuff that AJ and I are doing, you can use for both. Okay. So anyway, so that's the youth passing system in general. Let's get into the concepts. Okay, so we're going to set the table quickly here and just talk about the concepts and what we do every time we get to the line of scrimmage, okay? So again, our 3 core passing concepts that this entire youth passing system is based on is fade out, stick, and corner, okay? They all have these 3 same grass reads and the same pre-snap process for each. So I'm going to show you here in a second how it works. But every single time the quarterback comes up to the line of scrimmage and we've called one of these 3 plays, they're going to do the same exact process. They're going to step through it and be able to read the same pieces of grass every single time, which in turn will help them play fast and make better decisions on the fly. Okay. Now, 4 verticals, while it does have a lot of the same qualities that these other plays run, it is a little different in terms of the process. So I keep it separate. But it's so much fun for the kids. They're going to love having their own day to do verts, and we do install it on its own day. Okay. So all of these plays, if you run air raid, you'll notice that they're all considered quick game. But again, with the lower levels, I don't think you need any drop back game. I've tried drop back game at 8U. I've tried it at 12U. I've tried it at 14U. I've done it in JV in high school. I've done it with varsity in high school. I just don't think you really need drop back game. I can add them to yours custom if that's what you want. But if you're going to follow this system, which I very much believe you should, especially if you're just starting off plugging in a new offense, this is all you need. Okay, so number 1, I'm going to show you how we take gifts, pre-snap gifts, basically free yards that the defense is giving us. Okay, that's built into this offense. From under center, this is a 3-step drop. And from shotgun or from pistol to 1-step drop. Okay, So we're getting the ball out. Okay, ball's coming out in the last step, and like I said, with these plays, we're attacking the same 3 pieces of grass every single play, and the reads are essentially the same every single play. We're just going to play fast. Okay.
That's one thing I want to say. I always, for high school, and I always emphasize to the coaches I work with is if you're going to throw the ball, it's got to be 1, 2, 3 throw. That's it. If the ball's not out when you get back to your 3rd step, your quarterback's going to get killed. I mean, you can't hang on the ball. So I can't emphasize that enough, that knowing these, and when I start to, now I'm learning these guys for the first time as we go through this too, um, how essential that is to throw on time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No matter what offense you run, you got to throw on time.
Yeah, and that's one sneaky little fact that a lot of coaches don't really harp on, and you're going to hear me harp on it a lot in this series, is timing up the feet with the throw. But before we get into plays, I want to make one thing clear. I'm a big proponent of pre-snap keys, okay? I'm a big proponent of learning as much information as possible. And more importantly, teaching my quarterbacks, to take in all the relevant information they need so when they snap the ball, they can make their decisions that much quicker. There's nothing more important. I don't care what you tell me. It doesn't matter to me. You can't change my mind. The most important factor in choosing a quarterback is finding a kid that can process quickly and make good decisions under pressure. Okay. I don't care how far they can throw. I don't care. I care how accurate they are. I shouldn't say that, but as long as they can get the ball to where we're going, maybe throw 20, 30 yards, it's all about decision making for me. I'll put a lineman back there if he's making better decisions than a 6'5", 220-pound, God looking body type of kid. All right. So that being said, I've recently changed my process. In the past, I would ask my kids before every snap, and this was the last 5 or 6 years running air raid, before every practice play, and before every passing play in practice, and even before snaps in the game, I would ask my quarterback some very typical questions. How many receivers how many safeties are there? Is the cornerback hard or soft? Are there overhang defenders? These are all things that a lot of coaches value. Is the middle of the field open or closed? And I would kind of go through, and then I'd finish off with, what do you think the defense is? And that is a big no-no for air raid coaches. Like most of you air raid guys know, the Leach and the Mummies of the world, they preach, who gives a F about the coverage? Our plays are our plays. People have to stop it. We have conversions built in. If it's zone, we sit in the holes. If it's man, we keep running, and that is all true, absolutely true. But it just wasn't making sense in my brain. If a quarterback knows it's cover two, and he knows that cornerback is sitting in the flats, why wouldn't that help him make a faster decision after the snap, right? And I just kept telling myself, that this information was so important to processing. But what I was doing, and what I realized that what I was doing, is every time I asked them a question, it would bring up 4 more questions behind it, especially with the coverage, right? We talk about coverage. They'd say what their coverage was, and then they'd ask me questions about, well, what if he does this, and what if he does this? And so through my conversations with coaches on my, quarterback code podcast, and through my conversations with coaches in our community, I've streamlined all of this down to 2 questions that will work, and one really is the one that's going to rule them all. Okay, so is your first read open by alignment? And I'm going to show you exactly how that works in a second. But that one question not only eliminates the need to know how many safeties or is the middle of the field open or closed, or how many overhang defenders there are. It eliminates all that. And it not only gets their mind on the first read and the defense around the first read, but then it also locks them into that process of first, second, and third every single play. It's just like clockwork. Okay. And so I'm going to show you why, but this one pre-snap key, I believe it's here to rule them all, like the Lord of the Rings. There's one ring to rule them all. Okay. Now you'll see that's the second question listed here. The first one is, are there any pre-snap gifts? And so if there are any pre-snap gifts, that's just going to be part of our offense, because I want this to be a systematic way where your kids will learn to see open grass and take it whenever a team is giving it to us. So here's the process. Every time someone comes up to line of scrimmage, they're going to look backside. Okay. and they're going to look for any pre-snap gifts. Then they're going to go, after they check that, if there's no pre-snap gifts, they're going to go run the concept using our one pre-snap key is our first read open by alignment. And there's one hardcore rule. And am I doing the balloon or are you doing those balloons?
I'm not touching anything.
Why is it doing that? Are you seeing that? There's like
I am seeing that. I was just
happy
kind
birthday
of laughing
balloons.
to myself.
I'm like, dude, how's that happening? Anyway, and there's one, and I put it here twice on the screen. There's one hard rule that I want to pound into your head that you just say to these quarterbacks every single time. And there's two ways to say it. Always throw to the first open receiver in your progression, or never pass up an open receiver in your progression. I don't care who it is. As we go through 1, 2, and 3, if there's someone open in that order, throw it. Get rid of the ball. Okay. So that's the process. First question in that pre-snap process is, are there any gifts backside? Okay. And so for those of you that don't know, this concept is called Y stick. Y is running the stick, H is running the shoot. And the first read, as you can see with the 1 here, is running the outside release, restack, go. Okay. Now this, the concept side, that's what I've called in the huddle. But in our offense, and this is what in air raid we call quick game, but in our offense, we're not going to delineate between quick game and drop back game. It's just our core plays. In our offense, we're going to come up to the line of scrimmage, even though I've called this and told the quarterback, I've hand signaled this in. We're in star, get in the formation. We're in star, which is our empty set. And then I signal in Y stick. They run up to the line of scrimmage. They've called Y stick. Everyone is ready to run our concept. The first thing he's going to do, even though we've called Y stick, he's going to look to the backside. If this is the concept side, this is the backside. He's going to look backside and look at the defenders covering these two receivers back here. And if it's just one receiver, it's just one receiver, but it's the backside. And if either one of these defenders is 7 yards off or more, the quarterback, even though we've called the concept Y stick, the quarterback, it's not an option. Okay, this is mandatory. The quarterback is going to turn, is going to snap the ball and turn a double play. He doesn't need laces. He doesn't need anything. He's just trying to get the ball out to one of these two guys. And if they're both open, pick your poison. It doesn't matter to me one bit. If it's one of them, obviously throw to the guy that's 7 yards off or more. But now we've gotten one of our best athletes in space with the ball, one-on-one. And the lower you get, guys, the more coaches hide the worst players out here at corner. So we've got one of our best athletes with the ball in his hands, one-on-one with probably one of their least talented players. And we have done what we wanted, getting our athletes in space with the ball. And we haven't even run a concept and we haven't even run a play. Guys, I can't tell you how much this adds up at the end of the game. And it happens, guys. And I don't know, sometimes in our world, in high school, even here, that people are in cover 3 80% of the time. And I don't know why, it just is. And so they are absolutely 7, 8, 9, 10 yards off the ball, turned in a zone turn, and it's obvious to everybody. And if you're not taking these free yards, you're doing yourself a disservice. Okay. Now, obviously, that's off on 3rd and 15, right? We don't need to do that on 3rd and 15 and fourth and Hail Mary time.
Are you calling this play though on 3rd and long?
No, but like corner,
okay.
I would call Y corner a lot on 3rd and long. But yeah, that's a great point. Like obviously the coach needs to call the right play, but there were times, and Verts is one that has some of these same components.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we run it, like Coach Patrick Taylor, Verts has a lot of conversions like this on the outside. So it's like we've had kids like just so used to converting their routes that like there was actually a Hail Mary. I don't even know if I've showed you that play. We won on a Hail Mary with our 8th grade team a few years back, literally 50-yard bomb. And one of the receivers converted it. It's like 4th and Hail Mary from like the 50. And the kid converted it. So anyway, so every single play, we don't call it. We rep it so hard in practice that the quarterbacks see it. and we don't need to signal it. We don't need to like scream, hey, look, right? It's just built into all of these plays. And in this youth passing system, it's a part of every single play, including verticals. Okay.
Do you guys use the term hard deck with your kids?
I haven't. I know that's the R4 term.
Okay, that's the R4 term. Okay.
Yeah, and it's great because it's 7 yards. And I
want to ask you because all the stuff, that's what I've tried to learn too. And so,
yeah, no, and it's great. And like we talked about, man, if I ever run my own program from top to bottom, I'm implementing R4 because it's great to get on the same page terminology wise with everyone in your program. But my life right now is a new coach. Half of my staff is new every year, right? So it's just, do I invest in that when it's not going to stick, right?
Football is so much terminology and having your own vocabulary, really. I mean, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's guys one town over that call the same exact drill that I do something completely different, right? So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And even routes, it's something as simple as a receiver route. It can change from town to town.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what it looks like if they are off. Now, obviously, quarterback comes up, he looks up, and the guys are down tight, and it could be 5 yards. We still can't throw it. It's off. 6 yards, it's off. It's the 7-yard barrier that we are really looking for. And guys, my older teams, we run slants. My younger teams, 8th grade and below, we run hitches or sticks. Totally up to you what you want to do. I think especially 8th grade and below, the stick is great. It is high percentage. Not that slants are hard, but there's a lot more variables that can go wrong with slants, and some bad things could potentially happen. This is just like, hey, 5-yard turn, put my foot in the ground, the ball's coming at me, right? Like it's just pitch and catch. So that's number one. That's your first step. Kid comes with line of scrimmage. We call it concept on the run. Looks backside. Okay, so we don't have any gifts. We don't have any money to take. So now we're going to run our concept. And I want to make very clear, this backside is now dead. If a quarterback looks over here and it's dead, and he comes back and runs a concept, and in the middle of the play, he starts looking back over here, that is a recipe for disaster. That is pick six city. That is a game-changing crap that we do not need to do it. So you need to drill into their head. And I will too. If you purchased a youth passing system through our player book app, I will drill in with the videos that if it's not there pre-snap, these players are dead. Do not look back here. We only have 4 seconds, and really we only have 3 seconds. And there's plenty to read over here with this 3-on-2. And you'll get somebody open over here. There's nothing back here except pain. Okay. So I want to make that point. Okay. So that's the first step in the process. So the second step in our process is the first read open by alignment? And this is the one pre-snap key to rule them all. This will eliminate any need for anything else besides just some general IQ variables to kind of think of, but it makes it way easier than trying to check off 4 things in this young quarterback's mind before every play. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use Y stick. So we're open Y stick. I've labeled the reads here to go. And this deck, again, will give this to you. So it's really clear for everyone that's learning it. My go is my first read. My stick is my second read. The shoot is my third read. So as they come up to the line of scrimmage, they look for gifts. There actually is a gift back here. So hopefully they take it like they should. Now let's just say they didn't. Maybe it's 3rd and long. Who knows? And they run the concept. So is my first read open by alignment?
No.
This is the first read. We are trying to throw into this deep third, okay? There's a cornerback before the snap already at 8 yards. And theoretically, if there's a deep corner at 8 yards,
it's cover 3.
He's probably, yes, in your mind is cover 3. That's where my mind is. We
Poor
are
man. Either way, he's not getting beat deep.
He's not getting beat deep. So we are going to look at him after the snap to verify that. But if he backs up even 1 step, we've proven that theory, right?
Yeah.
And so here it is. By alignment, can I get this ball into this deep third in 3 seconds with a guy already at 8 yards? The answer is no. He is not open by alignment. And so, as I just said, the quarterback is going to snap the ball with this in his mind. He is not open by alignment. He is going to peek at the corner because maybe he flies down, right? Maybe they're in cover 2 cloud and he flies down, or whatever you guys call that, and they rotate to cover 2, and this safety rotates up and this safety rotates back, or whatever it is. And that's why we don't want to get into all that with the kids, right?
Yeah.
That is
Now
so much information to think about.
Now I understand, because like
He
you said,
doesn't need to know that.
if you're disguising coverages, then it instantly, like you said, as soon as you hike the ball, that automatically now he's thinking cover 3, or he might be covered, and now, like you said, instantly as soon as the ball snap, that corner comes down, number 1's open, really. I mean, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm throwing the ball. That's great. Perfect. That's
so
great. So if he slams down, I don't need to teach him rotation cover 2 or rotate cover
no,
2. I'm
because
just
that
teaching
just
him.
confuses him.
Exactly. Now he's thinking about safeties, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't need to be thinking. He's just, all he needs to know is, can I throw this ball? If he slams down, I'm throwing the ball.
Yep.
If he goes back, I'm moving on to my next read.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. Okay. So in this circumstance, open Y stick, is the first read open by alignment? No. Okay. So let's stay with this. Let's stay with this theme. Okay. So here we go. Same play, but now the quarterback looks up. And I put the H there. But the H and the 3 are the same. Okay.
Yep.
So the quarterback looks up. Any pre-snap gifts? Nope, definitely not. Right. In the old days, I would say, okay, well, you look here, then you look at the safety, how many safeties, then we look over here, it's probably cover 1, and we have all this long debate and conversation before every play, and it's just not worth it, right? So now we're going to go right to this and say, is our first read open by alignment? Well, shoot, there's open grass back here, and I've taught my receivers how to release on press, and if you didn't, then you need to figure out a way to. But if you run our offense, we're going to give you all the drills and the videos that go along with getting off press and how to teach your receivers how to be receivers. So with the clean release, in the same process, we're going to say the quarterback's going to snap the ball thinking, heck yes, I'm probably going to throw this ball. And so at the snap of the ball, if this guy gets a clean outside release and isn't just being mugged, if he can, basically what I tell them is if he can get within a step of that cornerback, or even with him, by the time you hit your back foot and they are even or almost even, we're throwing this ball. And we practice this fade. That's how we don't even stretch anymore. We just do pat and go. A lot of coaches call them easy ups, just to warm up the quarterback and the receivers before every practice. That's how we stretch.
Yeah.
We just throw these fades.
We just call them we call them easy 9s. So
exactly. And that's all this is. This is a
Yep.
touchdown with just an easy 9, a pat and go, and that's all it is, guys. And it's just automatic. I've if you've seen these air raid quarterbacks do it all the time. I saw Kyler Murray do it before he got hurt last year. The guy was literally about to get sacked by guys that were literally 3 times his size, and all he did was just step back and did his easy pat and go, and it dropped right into the bucket of his fade in the end zone.
And again, right, 1 step, right, and the ball's gone.
1 step and the ball is gone. So with this defense, is he open by alignment? Heck yeah. And again, we are going to peek at the corner to make sure. Now, if he turns and bails at the snap, right? Okay, great. Then we're moving on. We're moving on here.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But if he is, and the real key is, and we'll tell your quarterbacks this, if he turns his back to the quarterback and runs with that outside release go, we're going to try to take that shot, especially.
Yeah, you still would, because you're still going to get probably PI or anything, because he's got his back turned to the ball. He has no idea when the ball's coming out.
He's got his back to the ball, and we do this throw 100 times a day, every single day with this receiver and this quarterback. And you know what? These guys got about 3 days to prepare for us. Okay, so this is just automatic for us, right? Obviously, if it's great coverage and he just doesn't feel comfortable, great, move on. We got 2 on 1 right here, right? Like, it's not a problem. But to answer the question, is the first read open by alignment? We would say yes. Okay. Here's the only scenario where it gets a little sticky. Especially with the lower level kids. Okay, is now, what do we do now? He's not way deep and he's not pressed up, he's at this 5-yard mark. And of course, you and I, we start thinking cover two because now we got the corner sitting around 5 yards and you got a safety that's on this half of the field, right? So gosh, how do we teach that? Well, we teach it in the same way that we've taught everything else. Okay. First off, is there any pre-snap gifts? Nope. He's within 7, so that's off. Now, is the first read open by alignment? The answer is no, he's not. But just like in the other two versions, just like in the other two scenarios, we're still going to look. Okay. We're still going to look. And we're still going to look at the cornerback. This corner tells us everything we need to know. And this is where the savviness comes in and some coaching comes in. And again, we have videos and clips of cornerbacks sitting in a zone squat for these quarterbacks to learn from. But this is where your coaching comes in practice, giving them these different looks to look at and exaggerating it initially and then learning how to kind of sync and try to trick them later. But what we tell them is look at the body position, right? If this cornerback is sinking while this receiver is attacking him, his outside shoulder, if his body position is continuing to look forward, even as this guy approaches him, we're going to find a positive place to throw the ball in what we call this hole shot, right? And so as we get good at this, we will rep it out in practice. And as this receiver attacks, if this corner, his body position stays pointing forward, we teach our quarterbacks to release it as he's getting even with this corner. Okay. Now, in this position, we can't just throw our easy ups, right? We can't just throw our easy 9s. It is not an easy 9. It is more like a 2-ball for you R4 folks, where it's just more of a line drive. It's not a pure line, not a frozen rope, but there's a little bit of arc to it, but it's a hole shot.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's catching it right about on this video or on this field. It's about the 40. So then he has time to kind of make a move on the safety who's coming over the top. And I will say this is a little harder the younger you go with the quarterbacks, but it is vital that you learn and teach this. It is a part of football as they get older. So at the very least, they need to know how to do it. But this is very vital to the offense. So it does take a little bit longer to teach. But if you're repping this through camp and through the whole season, it's not like they will get it relatively quickly. It's just more about reading the body position than reading where they physically are on the field, if that makes sense. Okay. And so just like every other thing, we're going to snap the ball, peek at this corner. If his body's facing forward and he's only sunk a yard or two, great. We're going to rip that ball in there and throw a hole shot. If it's uncomfortable at all, and I mean at all, and we don't need to take chances with the ball. If he doesn't like the look or doesn't like this cornerback is sinking back and then coming forward like late, which might happen, then we don't need to throw it. Any discomfort, let's move on. Again, we have a 2-on-1 here. And it's simply a man read, and I'll get into that in a second here. I just wanted to go over the first read open by alignment. And basically whoever this guy takes between these two guys, we're just going to make him wrong. It's just a simple, a lot of guys call it if then. We just call it apex defender read, conflict defender read, however you want to call it. Some people call it a man read, but it's just reading one guy between two. Okay, so first read open by alignment. We just went over that, and in the system and in this deck, I literally show you how to read it for every single play we have, just so it's very clear, because this whole shot for Y corner, I'll show you this in a second, it actually is open by alignment when we talk about corner, and I'll show you why. Anyway, so we did the pre-snap gifts. We did the first read open by alignment. Those are the first 2 steps in this system. Coach, any questions before I get into the actual plays?
Do you on your backside there? Do you call that snag on that play? Well, it was up there too. Do you call that?
Are we doing the backside?
Yeah. Do you call this snag, or is this already just automatically when you call it? They just know what to run backside.
Yeah, I mean, I go into the season and I usually just set that from the beginning. For 8th grade and below, it's just always is or sticks.
Okay.
For freshmen and above, I just do slants. and
Okay.
the deck is just set up that way, so it doesn't really
So for
change.
you, it's just automatically by a play call, they know what to do backside.
Exactly, and
Okay.
we just set that from the beginning of the season,
Yep.
and unless there's something dramatic going on, we just leave it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's get to the core 3 plays, okay? And let me explain why we chose these 3 plays, okay? So we've already talked about the process. Now let's talk about the 3 plays after we've gone through the process, and we're going to run the concept. We have stick, fade out, and corner. A lot of you guys looking at this probably are saying, well, fade out is basically NFL stick. And that's true. I've seen people call what we call fade out stick, and it's just basically the same thing, right? And if you notice between the two, if you notice between the 3, if you're looking at these 3 pieces of grass, deep third, hook to curl, and the flats, there's someone running into each of these 3 pieces of grass on every single play. And we are essentially reading it the same way on every single play. We're going to read it from deep third, and then we're going to man read, we're going to apex read, we're going to conflict read the second and third read. So we're going to go through our progression. In stick, it is go, stick, shoot. In fade out, it is go, out, stick. In corner, it is corner, snag, shoot. But either way, we're going to move through the progression with the first read. Is the first read open by alignment? And then we're going to move through those other 2 pieces, apex defender, the conflict defender in mind, and essentially making him wrong. Okay, so it's the same exact process every single time. It's the same 3 pieces of grass every single play. And guys, if you want to have some fun, and I think we should actually have a night where we invite people on and try to make different combinations. People have sent me some really cool combinations of 3 receivers running into these 3 pieces of grass, but they've done it in different combinations with motion coming in and a running back coming out or a H-back. And it doesn't really matter. We got these 3 pieces of grass. If we can mix and match who's running where and how, a million different ways and from what position. But essentially, if you do that and read it the same way, your quarterbacks will know exactly what to think about. Your quarterbacks will know exactly who to read, and they'll know exactly who to throw to every single play. And I cannot stress how vital that is and how important it is that your quarterback have 0 questions when the play is being run, and they can just play fast and go fast and just play with instinct because they understand how the concept works.
Well,
Okay.
I want to say something right now that just totally dawned on me because I had this whole entire thing to talk to you about, but you already answered it because with and because a part of this was when we talked about this was how to pair the 2 offenses, right? And I already can see how much help this would make for our passing game. Even though we have the passing tree, and we can do a segment on that and how they kind of compare, because we can basically call this exact same thing just with the passing tree. But what I like about it is we see 90% man, but it doesn't matter if we're seeing man. It doesn't matter because and that's what I love about it. To our quarterback, it doesn't matter if we're seeing man or seeing cover 1 or 0, because that's what we get. It doesn't matter because all he has to do is go look and see where that corner is lined up. It doesn't matter if he's in man or not, right? If he's in the hard deck, and you watch his steps, then you can automatically go to your next read. And it doesn't matter what coverage you're in. And that just really dawned on me, and I could see how easy and simple it would be to install and pair the 2 offenses.
Absolutely. And like you said, and we talked about it earlier, there's already answers built in, right? This snag turns into a slant. He just keeps running if it's man or cover 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is out already isn't out. Now this stick, we can do a conversion route, right? And let them figure out by body position where to run. So there's a million ways to convert this, but the great thing is that it's kind of already built in. So absolutely, man. I love it. Okay, cool. And so those are the 3 plays. I'll go through here, and as you see on the deck, stick and fade out are essentially the same plays, okay? And if we do it to the left side, it's exactly the same thing. We can do it out of our green 2-back set. It's all the same, guys. That's the beauty of this is there's nothing. They're not learning new things. They are just putting it in a different.
So
They're just
one
seeing it.
thing I could ask you on your trips, what's this spacing like that? And is does it have to be that way for your reading? Because like our open, like if we were to run this, we'd have to run it on an open or we'd have to run it on a RAM open for us. Or else we're having to put in another like. Does it have to be your trips? Do they have to line up like that for it to
Nope.
work?
This is trip. This is our open right now. So 2 receivers and a running back here. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, no, I want to go to your 3 receiver, 3x1 though.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there's
like
3.
that's the one I want to look at.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be in trips.
Yep.
You could pull this guy back to the backfield. You could put him as a wing. You could bring these
Yeah,
guys right to the
because
line.
for us,
So
our Z would be up here, our Y would be splitting the difference, and then our numbers, and then our S would be either 1x1 or he'd be 4 yards away from the tackles. So that's how we'd line up our trips.
okay, so we just configured this to make it look more like what Coach AJ's offense would look like. Obviously, we need to add linemen in to make it look right, but yes, I think this is more common to what trips looks like for most teams. I think this guy is probably tucked into your line, maybe like a wingbacks, but a lot of spread teams have it look like this, but out on the outside. And yes, it doesn't matter what the formation is, as long as again we're attacking the flats, the hook to curl, and the deep third. We can make it work and make it work very efficiently. I just have those guys so close together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the main purpose is number one, the natural rubs, but the most important piece is I really want this guy to declare as quickly as possible. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And if I can get my quarterback to his eyes to this conflict defender
Mm-hmm.
as quickly as possible, and now when these guys are next to each other and they cross,
Mm-hmm.
this guy has to go where he's going. He has to choose right away, right?
Yeah, because he even sits there for a second, then your shoe's just gone.
Exactly. Now, if this guy comes out and runs an out, and this guy comes out and runs an in, there's 4 or 5 steps where this guy's just kind of sitting still.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And even if
Mm-hmm.
he just does what he's doing on this sheet, it still is going to take about 5 steps for this guy to really start making a move either way.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I do it, the main reason I do it, and they're so tight together, is just so that apex defender will declare quicker.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I'd say the majority of people have it like what you're doing here. So that definitely will work either way. But that's a great question. And so, like I said, the reads are pretty much the same, and I'm going to do a whole video on these concepts. The one piece that I will just call out on this video is unlike stick and fade out, which start with the outside release go as the deep third read and is the first read. This is our only play that has the first read and the deep third read. That's always our first read is the deep third.
Correct.
Coming from the inside. Okay.
Yeah.
And because it's coming from the inside and because he can physically see this cornerback and this safety as he's running it,
Mm-hmm.
and so in the cornerback, he can see if this corner has sunk more than 5 or 6 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So since it's an easier picture to see, we're going to say our corner is open by alignment against cover 2. Or, and more importantly in this offense, against a corner that is kind of sitting in between the exaggerated deep third and the press man. Okay. So if the guy's about 5 yards and he's looking straight ahead, we're going to throw this ball. And we are not looking at the corner route at the snap of the ball. When we snap the ball, we are looking at the corner back, just like in stick and just like in fade out, and watching what he does. We're backing up, we're taking our drop. If this cornerback is still looking forward, as this receiver is going in on a slant, right? If he's still facing forward, we got a great chance that this is zone, right? And we talk to our kids about zone and man versus cover 2 versus cover 1 versus cover 3. So is it zone or man? Is he chasing him? Great. I definitely am going to throw this corner. Is he facing forward and just kind of like biding time in this 5-yard space? Great. I'm going to throw that corner. Does he turn and bail sideways? All right, can't throw the corner. Now I'm moving on to my apex read right here, right? And so it's very much an easier play to read because to me at least, because he's going into that space and he can kind of see the whole picture at once. Um, but it's the only one where the deep third read is coming from the inside and against this cover two corner, for lack of a better term. And I got to come up with a better term for that because this cover two corners positioning, we're going to try to, we are going to say that it's open by alignment. Okay.
I was just gonna be like, for us now, this would be shoot right, 618 arrow. That's it. So again, your passing tree guys can do the same thing that concepts can, and vice versa. So, and that's how we'd call it, and it's very simple. And
Yeah.
you're just calling it open wide corner. Accomplishes the exact same thing, but it's just very simple. So
Simplicity is it. That's the whole key to everything. It's the whole key. Just as long as your players can understand it and process it on the fly, and it's not like overly complicated, guys, you're winning.
correct.
You're winning. And so, just as a preview into next week, I want to save four verts because there's a lot to it. This is the only other passing play that will be a hard part of the youth passing system, right? We have a million other air raid plays, and as you guys get better at this system, if you want, we'll give you all that information for free. But again, I just want to curate something that any coach can just grab, plug and play with all of our, sheets and practice plans and install plans and all these things that we're going to give you with it, and just plug it into any running offense, regardless of what it is. And so verts is very much the same thing. We do have the same exact rules that we're going to ask. Are there any pre-snap gifts? In verts, the gifts are on the outside, the two outside guys. Okay. So again, 7-yard rule, 7-yard rule. This is absolutely 7 yards. So he's going to snap the ball, pick one of these two guys to to turn a double play with, and just get the ball out. Okay. Now, if they are down, let's just imagine in our heads they are down. Now we're going on to our progression. And it is, instead of saying go over the ball, that sounds weird, we're going to use the name of the position. And this is what I do with the kids. So H is going to run his go down here. This is the H for us. Y is going to run his outside release go right up the seam. And then the running back has the over the ball. Okay. The main thing that we want to say here is we are reading, again, an apex defender. Okay. A conflict defender. Who are we going to make wrong on this one? And so this is the only one in our offense. This is the main difference, that we don't start the play by looking at the cornerback. And so I separate it. This safety, if he goes straight back or to his left, we are going to throw again a nice 2 or 3 ball right as this guy clears the linebacker. Okay. And it's not a big nice 9. It's not a big floating ball. That's a pick city if you do. But a nice line drive as he's clearing the linebackers is such a hard play to defend. Such a hard play to defend. Okay. If this safety gets sick of that and takes his steps this way at the snap of the ball, then we simply, we're going to look at the safety, take our time, because we got to let this guy get open over here too. But we're going to look at the safety. If he goes to his right, then we'll simply turn and hit this guy as he's clearing this linebacker. And if they rotate to cover 2 or whatever, then we always have this over the ball. But again, pre-snap GIF, yes or no? Is our first read open by alignment? We're going to ask that question. And right now, with one high safety in the middle of the field, our first read, is there open grass? Yes, there is. So we're going to say this is open by alignment. Okay. For those of you keeping score at home, again, this deck we're going to show you and have it on the deck green. Yes, it's open by alignment. So you guys can know for sure what the rules are and how the video game and player book is going to be set up for scoring. But essentially, that's just the basics of it, right? And next week we'll get into how we convert it if we're facing a too high safety look, and then we can get into how we run it against 3-by-1. Again, we're not teaching anything new. We're reading the safety, and we got our same 2 guys, Y and H, running their go routes, and we're just reading the safety and making them wrong. It's, again, We're not teaching them anything new. It's the same reads. So that's the core of it, right? And in some other videos, and I'm going to make a whole video series on the youth passing system. We'll do a video for each of these plays and really get into the nuance of it. But hopefully, you guys can start to see why we pick those plays, why we teach it in such a systematic way, and why I thought it was important to streamline the pre-snap process, because these guys just need to think about playing and not have to overthink every single play.
I my mind is honestly it's kind of blown right now.
Good. I like it.
I'm not. I mean, I really loved it because even for me, a simple O line guy that doesn't know anything can understand that stuff. And wow, I mean, I absolutely loved it.
All right, cool. So I hope you appreciated that, everyone out there. Obviously, like I said, we're going to have other videos to accompany this, but we're excited about it. We think it's kind of streamlined the entire process. And so that's all I got for today. Great hanging out with you again, AJ, as always. And we'll get into more.
I learned a whole bunch of stuff, so I really enjoyed it.
Sounds good, man. So another great week hanging out with you. We'll come back again next week and do a little bit more. What do you think we're going to work on next week, AJ?
I was hoping some pass blocking.
Oh, yeah. Good.
But then I don't know if you want to fit that in with your 4 verts then too. I do want to, I still got more stuff to share, but right now the passing game, I can come bring in a little bit of our passing tree, I think maybe next week, to see how easy a passing tree and the concepts just go hand in hand with each other. It's basically just another way of relating to your kids. Like I tell coaches, they always ask, hey, should I say words or numbers? I say both.
Yeah, whatever.
Like, why not just say, like, for us, okay, most people know what smash is, right? It's, quick hitch and a corner route, right? So for us, that's 08, right? Why not just say 508 smash? Like, what's wrong with just saying that? The nice thing for us with the passing tree is that the players can literally just go 0 through 9, and they'll keep it right on their wristband, and so all they got to do is hear their number. For the simple kids that that do need that help, that's one thing nice about that. But I don't know. To me, it's just you're relating to your kids. What's the best way to relate to them? Why not use both? Because some kids relate to numbers better and some kids relate to words better. So why not do a combination so you can help all your kids understand what you're trying to get to?
100%. And if you can get your kids to buy in and maybe, obviously your core stuff, you're probably going to keep it the same terminology every year. And I like your idea of like that you don't have to choose, right? It can be whatever works for you and your team and how you teach it and how they learn it.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you can get them to buy in and maybe even name a few things for themselves, like then they're empowered, right? The more they feel like they get to decide stuff, the better, right, for your teams. I love it. And if there are some things that change from year to year, gosh, let those kids have fun with it, right? Like,
let them decide, because they're really the ones that are the ones having to understand it and run it themselves. That's my whole point of this. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. So point that out. So thank you guys for joining us. So
yep. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, love the feedback. AJ, you're always so great at reminding people to like and subscribe both channels.
Yeah, again, I just can't emphasize enough, guys, when you're watching videos, if you just watched it or clicked on it, the logarithms is what Facebook is about. So just and YouTube. So the more likes that something gets, even if you don't even like it, hit the like button, because it's going to help others see the material. It has nothing to do with us. We don't get any money by getting 100 likes or 3 likes, but it does with Facebook. It does work to help other coaches see stuff just by hitting that like button. It's that simple.
1000%. So do it right now. We'll wait for you.
So
right on, man. Well, it's good hanging out like always. We'll jump back into it next week and go even deeper with this stuff. So thanks again, bro. Talk to you soon.